Next, we have Kyle.
All right. So my name is Kyle Jackson. I'm the CEO of a company called Talespin. I come from media and entertainment background for the last 15 years, but are now working deeply in the enterprise space. And I don't know how many of you have heard of the Loebner Prize, but it's kind of some context that's relevant. So Loebner Prize is basically a competition for computer programs to compete to prove that they're human. And there's a book that came out recently, and if you haven't read it, you should read it. It's called The Most Human Human. This guy named by Brian Christensen, and he was, there's human placebos in this competition. And basically, he was one of the placebos, and your job is to prove that you are in fact human opposite the chatbots. And as he was going through this, basically one of the things that he learned is that over the first 10 years of the Loebner Prize, basically the chatbots that won were the ones that simulated like uniquely human traits. So they were either rude or they were, curt or assholes or whatever. And they won every year as a result. So it was very interesting because it was like when you look in the mirror at some of our worst characteristics, that actually ends up being the things that indeed make us believable as humans. And so we're working on a completely other problem, which I'll get to. We've been looking at opposite a lot of the things that are going on here, and just in the broader technology space, how do we look at kind of building a platform for accelerated knowledge transfer and the alignment of skills that we as humans have to be proficient at as we go forward. And as we were on that journey, building a bunch of different pieces of a platform, using spatial computing, using XR as the delivery mechanism, the thing that kept coming up on every single skills list and every single enterprise conversation was soft skills. And so all of a sudden, because of the AI and automation and the way that that's going to be pushing into the workforce, some of these skills are becoming more prominent. And as I was reading this for several years, I just kept going back to that book, which is really interesting because one of the biggest things we need to train is one of the things we should theoretically be inherently good at. And is there a way we can use simulation or XR or any of these technologies to accelerate that? And so we started down this road, going back to the Most Human Human book. Well, soft skills is kind of our worst moments. Maybe there's actually a lot of truth in focusing on soft skills and focusing on difficult conversations as it relates to like the whole tech stack that has to be built to do this well. And so we started building an AI conversational learning platform for the idea that basically there's a lot of moments in life that we don't get practice at until it's too late. And wouldn't it be nice if we could? So our friend Barry here kind of was our first.
Well, I didn't see this coming. I really thought I was going to finish my career here. Had so much more to accomplish, but look, I appreciate the opportunity. It was a pleasure working with you.
So what we focused on was obviously both the conversational and expression engines to make that a believable interaction. Because if I'm going to go in and practice, it needs to be me actually speaking and me practicing and me using my hands and doing all the things I do to make my situation go successful or fail. So we used Barry there to test, and it was we picked a situation in which was just inherently uncomfortable. So we picked determination as like the emotional plank, walking the plank and seeing if we could convince people that was going to work. But obviously the problem then gets a lot wider when you need one system to drive hundreds of virtual humans and be able to swap context of situation like on the fly. So I need to practice against somebody that's 20 years my elder, and then somebody 20 years that's younger. And I need to do that all with a single system. And so we basically started building, a technology stack that supports, single rig, different types of emotional state machines and things like that then start to influence the situation you're in. So as we were doing that, we knew that the Uncanny Valley were well familiar, really familiar with that. And so we decided we got to define a space which is clearly not real, but is emotionally real, because that's what affects learning outcomes. If I actually, sit opposite Barry and I feel bad for the guy, that batting practice has worked. And so that was a really interesting bar to set. And what we saw over the last 2 years was that lots of people cry. lots of people get upset, lots of people take off the headset, lots of people do all sorts of things. And so, on the way, it's super ironic, right? So the story goes viral, which was obviously fun for us, but totally wild. The idea of using a virtual being to teach us to be better humans is an ironic idea, and people liked to talk about that. So it was really quite fun to see the reactions. But at the end of the day, the thing actually works. The results and stuff that we're getting are really insane, and we're getting exponential results in basically every single way you measure this kind of stuff. So some of the stuff we're working on to really do this at scale is a lot of the stuff that's covered here, and there's people that we definitely will be following up with to collaborate on. But you basically have to build persona and personality-based responses. So you can swap the context of the virtual human you're practicing against. So did I just come from a meeting and I'm running 20 minutes late and I'm a bit short, or have I been preparing for this meeting for the last 2 hours, right? Obviously, there's evidence-based conversational engine stuff there that we have to look at. Like, what is my background? What is my history? How does that play into my persona? Obviously, the emotional expression layer is all about not using performance. So this is all programmatic. And lots and lots of micro expression things that are going on. So we're just building layers and layers and layers of little tiny animations. Just to show basically something they just captured out of Unity that's completely.
Wow, you think I was at fault, even when the other guy hit me. I didn't see that one coming. Investigation. There's no need to go all CSI for a fender bender. Plus, I don't know what his repair bill looks like, but my quote almost gave me a heart attack. Why would I need to pay for those damages? I guess mostly what we've covered. It's not that I think I didn't do anything wrong. I just think the other driver was the main cause. But I guess I can do 25%. Thanks for working with me on this. It feels really good to have that out of the way. Just show me whatever you need me to sign and we can wrap this up.
So that was all programmatic. That's literally in the last 3 or 4 months of work to get to that, and it's improving really, really rapidly. Last thing is just we're seeing lots and lots of people interact with virtual humans, which is really interesting to have that conversational set to see how they believe this stuff. But that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.